Hey, this is Matt once again. Welcome back to another video. This is another paid request, this time for Ryan. Thank you so much for that. And for those interested in requesting pretty much any type of videos, topic, reaction, review, re-review, what have you, feel free to send it either directly to my PayPal or join my Patreon. Both links are down below in the info box. Now, Ryan wanted me to look at Loki, episode 1. Now, I've never really been much a fan of these Marvel TV shows, whether it be Miss Marvel, what I've seen of it, and Secret Invasion, which was incredibly boring. Now, this one, I would say out of the ones I've seen of their first episodes, this is the one that's the most interesting. I gotta give credit to that. I thought Tom Hiddleston as Loki actually did a rather good job. It was nice to see Owen Wilson in there. I thought the back and forth between Tom and Owen was actually fairly good. I think the whole time variant authority was actually kind of interesting. It's one of those things that if this was done well by competent writers, this could have the most chance of being a good show of the Marvel shows. I really do believe that. Because the setup I don't mind. It takes place after Avengers Endgame. During that movie, there's a point where the Avengers went back in time to 2012 by them meddling. The Loki of 2012 escapes using the Tesseract. So as he does that, sooner or later he gets caught by this agency called the Time Variance Authority, where they look at the time stream and they see if there's any screw-ups going on. Kind of in a way like Time Cop, although Time Cop I liked a lot more than this with Jean-Claude Van Damme. But kind of like, okay, you don't have a time agency, this guy is a variant, this is a different Loki, and it looked like in the time frame you were supposed to die, but now you've tried to change things, we've caught you. And pretty much is Tom Hiddleston doing a rather good job, I thought, acting-wise, of being kind of told by Owen Wilson, shown, this is what you're going to cause, this is what you're going to do, why do you do what you do. Guess what, when you're on your way, if you were to go back, your mom would have died, maybe you would have gotten together with your brother and Thor, you guys would have worked it out, you died at the hands of Thanos. And Tom Hiddleston finding out about this, realizing about this, and his reaction and kind of his... I thought he did a good job, facial-wise, body language-wise, of showcasing a guy that by the end is kind of lost and doesn't even know what to do, because if he goes back, it goes through this, either the variant is destroyed, and they'll do it right then and there, or if he goes back, I guess you could try to change things, but then they would catch him again, or if he went along the path, it would end up with his mom dying and him dying, so he's kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place. And yeah, I know it's a bit lame to try to do the villain and they try to humanize him, but I thought, again, with his acting, and I like Tom Hiddleston, I liked him in Kong Skull Island. I also like the Time Variance Authority, some of the quirky things they were doing with that realm. For example, when he first gets in, there's these protocols, like they have all this paper. Can you look through this and see if this is every word you ever said? He says a few words, and the guy prints out another paper, and then he goes sign that too. Or there's a robot, and the robot is kind of has this like electronic smiley face. And he's like, no, I'm not going to change my clothes. What are you doing? So the robot like turns to a frowny face and it melts his clothes off. There's a bit where the guy's like, come into this machine and we want to make sure you're a robot or not. And then Thomas says, What, there are people that don't know if they're robots? Yes. Well, what happens if I am? Well, you'll melt. So he goes in, of course he doesn't melt. That's really stuff like that, or how they explain what it is, but they do it via a cartoon that looks like a cartoon that was made way, way back in the day, in like the 50s or something, with this mascot that's very cheery, and those quirky things, along with, again, this kind of therapy session with Tom Hiddleston, Owen Wilson, that stuff was interesting to me. That stuff was made it more intriguing to me compared to other shows. It felt a bit different, it felt a bit unique. But sadly, the problem is that it's connected to Marvel. I kind of wish in some way, shape, or form that if this was someone else, some wizard, some magician that were doing bad things, and this is kind of his trial by fire, call to humanity, however you want to put it, with this interesting kind of backdrop and realm that he's in as he's arrested. And you have Owen Wilson, you have Tom Hiddleston. The fast connected to Marvel is kind of a detriment, sadly, for a number of reasons. Number one, like the first scene when Tom Hiddleston escapes in 2012. It cuts to the Avengers, and the Hulk is trying to get in the elevator. Robert Downey Jr. literally talks him down and goes, "Hulk, what are you doing? You can't come in here. You take the stairs." And the Hulk's like, "Ah," and then goes down the stairs. I'm like, yet again, the Hulk as a fucking joke. As a fucking joke. Or they get the Tesseract, and he says it, and then some guy goes, "Tesseract? That sounds dumb." I'm sure the writers of that Captain America movie that had the Tesseract, I'm sure they appreciate being called dumb. Number one, the Tesseract doesn't really sound dumb, but I'm sure, again, the writers of that old movie, I'm sure they were watching and go, "Wow, you know, I wrote that? I came up with that name? Thanks, dick. Thanks for calling when I came up dumb. Thank you, dickhead." Or with the whole time frame, you know, he's on trial, and Loki literally says, "Hey, it's the Avengers' fault. If the Avengers had not come back, then I wouldn't have been loose, and I wouldn't have gotten the Tesseract, I would have escaped. Why do you blame them?" And they go, "Well, what they did was supposed to happen." And that comes into the thing of, so wait a minute, in this time frame, at least the way in episode 1, maybe in episode 2, 5, 7, whatever, things change. But if episode 1, they're saying that there's fate and that's it. There's no fate but what we make. Nope, fuck it. It's pre-planned. Everything is pre-planned. Every up, down, and center, every bad and good note. Black Widow's death. Everything was pre-planned. So I'm like, wait, so there's no free will? There's none of that? It's not them choosing, it's something up there has chosen them to do this? That just rubs me the wrong way. The idea of not having free will, and I don't know. It's one thing like Time Cop, where, you know, we made these choices and it's already happened, but now someone's trying to screw that up. It's like, no, we've made these choices, already happened. And then even then it becomes more free will when Van Damme says, "Fuck it, I'm fighting these bad guys, but I'm also going to save my wife." And by saving my wife, now my wife is still alive, and I have a son, I have a kid. So they even goes to more free will. To me, the fact that everything has been pre-planned, that it's only fate and nothing could change it, there's no free will, that just, if that's the case, idea maybe in the future there's some change, it's like, no, it's not really. But if that is, that just robs a lot of the spontaneity. Everything coming forward and before in this universe was, well, it was planned that way. Hey, you couldn't do anything else. That's the way you had to go. That just, I don't know how to explain. It just rubs me the wrong way. Now, yeah, they do make fun of Loki a bit, but I mean, it's Loki. If it's Loki, I understand. If we're talking about Captain America or Iron Man or Hulk, I can understand being mad about that. But making fun of Loki, I'm like, yeah, he's the villain. He was a villain that tried to hurt a lot of people and killed people. Him getting a few pegs and getting embarrassed, I don't really see any fault in that. So, for example, Owen Wilson will egg him on and goes, you know what, you lose a lot. You know that? You sure do lose a lot. If the plan is to humble him, if the plan is to break him down and then to mold him, to have him grow, to have him be a better person, better anti-hero, whatever the case may be. Could there be potential interest in that? Sure. Because again, I think Tom Hiddleston is doing a good job acting-wise. It makes me interested. Him, Owen Wilson, this world that they're in, that's the interesting part. Again, it's the connection to Marvel, funny enough, that's the weakest point. And like one thing is, there's a point where Tom Hiddleston's trying to escape, and he's like, don't know what to believe and all this place that he's in. So he goes, and at one point he's hiding, and he's trying to find a Tesseract, but then he finds all of these Infinity Stones. And he's like, wait a minute, you got all these stones, Infinity Stones. And then a worker goes, oh yeah, we did those all the time. You know, a lot of times we use them as paperweights. Now, granted, I can't really say I got that mad because I'm much less a fan of Marvel as I used to be. I much prefer the individual movies like Iron Man, Captain America trilogy, the first Doctor Strange. I don't give a shit about the whole Thanos thing. I don't give a shit about the whole Infinity Stone thing. I don't like Avengers Infinity War and Endgame. I do not like those movies. I'm fine with the first Avengers is okay. The second one I think is the best one. That's my opinion, Age of Ultron. So Thanos, I just don't find interesting as a character. I did not care for him as a villain. So I couldn't really give two rats' ass about it, but at the same time, I know that a lot of people do, and I'm like, wow, you made it seem as if these Infinity Stones are fucking worthless and pointless. The fact that they mean so little, like for people who had some kind of respect or awe for the power of these Infinity Stones that was built up for all these years, and then just to go, oh yeah, it's just a paperweight, it's nothing, ain't shit. That's kind of a weird way of writing it. Maybe it was someone like me who hated those movies, who hated Infinity War and Endgame. They said, fuck those movies, fuck Thanos, I'm gonna let the air out of his tires. Maybe, I don't know. But yeah, what was interesting was him kind of, with Owen Wilson, learning that, as the line says, you were created to cause pain so others can achieve the best of themselves. That you're just a product, you're just a thorn in someone's side. You're used to prop up the Avengers and make them better themselves and continue their journey. So how do you showcase yourself when you kind of realize that what does your life really have and meaning anymore? Where's your life going? Where's your life been? Maybe if it dealt a bit more into Tom Hiddleston's backstory as Loki, as a kid or as a teenager leading up to this. Because the only thing they showcase is that apparently he was just D.B. Cooper in one little flashback. which is kind of funny. But this, he's stealing the money and he's parachuting, and then Asgard gets him and makes him disappear, but the money floats down. That was kind of funny, but maybe to learn a little bit more about what made him tick to get up to this. And there are moments that Loki has the shine. He's able to outwit the guards. He's able to get the collar off and hold a bit of his own. And then apparently, Owen Wilson, the reason he wants Tom Hiddleston's help is that there's another variant of Loki hunting this agency. Now, who knows? Maybe this show gets a lot worse. Again, of the ones I'd seen, WandaVision and... Well, I mean, technically... Technically, Daredevil was the best. But I keep thinking that they're separate. I know that doesn't make sense, but I keep thinking, like, well, I guess actually Daredevil is in this main thing because... because like Daredevil was with Netflix, so I always associate it differently. While this is Disney Plus stuff, which I don't have Disney Plus, so I see it other ways. So I guess technically Marvel shows Daredevil is easily the best one. But I guess I mean of the Disney Plus Marvel shows, this one has to be the more interest. But yeah, there's still things that kind of make it lessen its impact, lessen its story, and I don't know, it's one of those things where I had to repeat myself. The biggest detriment to this is being linked in the Marvel Universe. If it wasn't, then maybe the show would be a bit better for it. So yeah, technically Marvel shows Daredevil would be easily the best one. And of that, probably I would say season 1 was the best. Although I did like chunk of season 2. But yeah, I would rather watch this first episode than WandaVision or Miss Marvel or don't get me started on She-Hulk. So after watching like those, this felt a little bit more refreshing, but there were still issues I had with it. So take that for what you will. With that said, thanks for watching, take care, and we'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.